Well, Vinny, it finished 4-0 at Anfield. Usually one-sided matches aren't very exciting, but despite it being so one-sided tonight, United really struggled. And I don't want to be kind of annoying Manchester United fans at the moment, but look, you cannot get away from the fact that Liverpool were absolutely amazing tonight, and it's one of the best performances we've seen in the Premier League.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier on, going back to, I think it was 88, Liverpool had one amazing performance, one of the best of all time against Nottingham Forest, who were a big club at the time, and I seen similarities to that tonight. What a brilliant performance. Yes, you can be critical of United, but some of the brilliance from Liverpool, particularly their first couple of goals, was outstanding, and you would hard to pick some flaws. Maybe first 15 minutes second half a little bit sloppy, but beyond that they were just sensational, and he put United to the sword. And Mo Salah going through bad form, scored 2 great goals and a brilliant assist as well. So Liverpool were excellent tonight. Strength and depth really is there. Players are a little bit refreshed after the weekend, and they come out full of running, and just a brilliant performance.
Look, it's been tough for Manchester United boss Ralph Rangnick since he's come in there, because the club, as we know, it's a bit of a mess, from top to bottom. There's players there that have been brought in by 4 or 5 different managers. Rangnick just hasn't been able to maybe pick a consistent side. He's had injuries coming into the game this evening. Of course, Varane is out, Luke Shaw is out, poor old Cristiano Ronaldo, he had to pull out of tonight's game as well for documented reasons. So he was really up against it tonight coming into the game, but he then threw a bit of a curveball, bringing Phil Jones in, playing it back 3, messing around with the formation. It was a bit of a gamble. It didn't pay off. So how much responsibility goes on the manager for this result tonight?
Huge amount. I thought he got everything wrong, particularly early. You've only to look at, he switched Wan-Bissaka after 44 minutes to try and quieten Mo Salah. It worked to a point, because if he hadn't have done that, Salah would have scored 3 if not 4 goals tonight. So but the goal, the first goal early, was Maguire in no man's land of the sort of left of a right hand, or of a left of a back 3, ball in behind. Dalot was really poor tonight. He got the team selection wrong. I think they were a lot better in the second half, but again, completely outplayed. Manager's got to take huge responsibility for tonight, and his time at the club has been really poor. He came with a high bar, really high reputation, and to be honest, Manchester United has damaged his reputation in terms of the performance under him. Hasn't been good. He arrived with no staff, hoping that people like Mike Carrick might stay. Just came so underprepared. I know it was short notice, but it has a huge knock-on effect. The players know he's not going to be there next year, and the knock-on effect is huge. But that aside, I remember being at Anfield when Neil Ruddock scored a header to make it 3-3, and Liverpool were 8th at that time. But the difference was that Liverpool squad knew Liverpool against Manchester United, big game, got to be up for it, got to fight for the jersey. And the biggest Man United players have got a lot of criticism, and I wasn't sure whether that was right or wrong. But tonight's performance and the way they gave up and made no effort tells you something seriously wrong with that dressing room. That is one of the biggest games of world football, no matter where you are in the league, derbies, etc. Form should go out the window to a point. But they've lost 9-0 to Liverpool over the 2 games this season. That tells me there's a serious problem in that dressing room. And Rangnick has said it needs 2 or 3 windows to fix Man United. But we're always wrong. It's going to take a lot more than 2 or 3 windows. You can double it minimum.
And just on the players, if you're Rangnick looking at their performance tonight, we did see some running from them, but overall, are you kind of looking at those players thinking, you're not giving me 100% here?
Yeah, as a manager, you're down. There should be no need for team talks in nights like Liverpool against Manchester United. As I said, it's one of the most famous games in the history of football. It was just a lack of effort. Yes, the manager set the players up wrong, has to take responsibility for that. But, just Jesse Lingard, outstanding player, West Ham, came on early, got a chance, just didn't try a leg. Rashford was completely isolated. I would have some sympathy for him, but again, he's got to do better. And Jordan Sancho came on, and just his execution, a couple of crosses just weren't good enough. And then you've got to say people like Matic isn't good enough anymore. So you would really fear for that team. Dallo had one of the worst. He had the Bavarian mare there tonight. He was shocking. So, yes, injuries haven't helped, but that dressing room need to have a long, hard look at themselves. And Liverpool was so comfortable.
Looking at United now, it doesn't get any easier over the next 2 games. They've got to go to Arsenal on Saturday, and then they've got Chelsea at home. You would have to think now their chance of getting top 4 in the Champions League place is pretty much gone now at this stage.
Yeah, look, they've still got some world-class players who can, we've seen it the other day with Ronaldo scoring the 3 goals. They needed to score 3 goals quite a lot this season to win any game of football. So they've got world-class players who can pull rabbits out of the hat.
Varane could come back as well.
Yeah, and I wouldn't write them off from the top 4, because of obviously Arsenal are in a part of a transition and they're not that strong at the moment. They should get there. Spurs should get there. One of them too, but we just don't know. I mean, so look, I wouldn't be shocked if United finish 4, but after looking up to tonight, that's going to take a huge dent to their confidence, and they need a big performance and a big win to go their way to build a bit of momentum between now and the end of the season. But with no manager in place, we remember when Brendan Rodgers left Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp was in 4 days later. When Solskjaer's left, we're looking at 4 months before the new manager really comes in. That's the difference, the planning above the level of coaching and etc. in the club. There's your difference summed up. Liverpool have kicked on, and United just continue to regress through the whole club. And their problems aren't just in their starting 11. It's a lot deeper than that.
And again, the Ten Hag move has really dragged on for a few weeks. That still hasn't been finalised either yet, and it's been played out in the newspapers. It really is crazy stuff. But let's move on to Liverpool and their incredible form. They've just produced some incredible performances over the last couple of weeks. Jurgen Klopp said after the cup win against Manchester City, it was the best first half he's seen his team play. Yeah. You could argue that tonight's game, perhaps the best 2 halves of football he's seen his team play. Yeah,
listen, and what I said before for the game, I felt when you're Liverpool and when you try and win a league, and I remember doing it in 19 at a completely different level, absolutely different level. So don't take that the wrong way. But the one thing I do remember about trying to win a league in 2019 and winning cups is the big games are the easy games because the players are self-motivated, the fans are self-motivated, and we've seen that tonight. The atmosphere in Anfield before the game was sensational. You knew around town, around Liverpool, that they were going to be up for this game. So it looks after itself. If Liverpool had played Brighton tonight, it would have been people a little bit later getting in, wouldn't have been the "You Never Walk Alone" saying as loud as it was before the game, etc. But that was just a special night because it was Manchester United. As I said, one of the biggest games in world football, and that helps you. The big games help you at the moment, and Klopp will be really happy, and I think the strength and depth in his squad is sensational. It is probably the best squad in world football at the moment. I still think probably short of one midfielder. And if they had that, there'd be no stopping them going forward. But they're up against one of the great teams there ever was in the Premiership in Man City. So what a title race we have. What a joy to be watching Premiership football at the moment, because Liverpool are the real deal. They have been sensational of late.
Before I ask you about the strikers tonight, we have to talk about Thiago and Andy Robertson, who kind of drove the team on different periods of the game. Thiago controlled that first half and he played very well then the second half before he went off, and then it was almost like when he went off, then Robertson took up the responsibility of driving the team into the box. Two players that stood out tonight.
Yeah, Robson was brilliant for 2 of the goals, and he won't get all the plaudits for his performance tonight, but 2 of the goals where he was men against boys against him in Elanga, where he intercepted and put Liverpool on the front foot, as they say. But Thiago's performance, we all see the no-look passes, we all see the balls around the corner, and that's why they brought him to the club. When they play against really packed defences, they needed somebody different than Henderson and Wijnaldum at the time, or Fabinho, just to open up doors and little pockets. But he showed more than that tonight, and the best compliment I can give him is Fabinho was non-existent in the game. He didn't need to play because Thiago was that good. Blocks in front of the second half, in that early stage he's made 2 sensational blocks from a defensive point of view, but his passing range What a nightmare he'd be to play against. Could you imagine him in the local five side? He'd drive you demented, the way he'd bounce the ball around. So he's just a brilliant footballer, very much the old school street footballer.
Yeah.
And he's added a new dimension to that Liverpool team. And you've got to keep him fit. He picks up a lot of niggles, but he's been fit for the last little while. And I think if his form stays the way it is, Liverpool are on for a really exciting run.
Yeah, every player that played tonight was excellent. You couldn't fault any of them. We could spend all night, but I just want to focus on Mane and Salah then before we wrap up, because two players who, they were getting goals and assists and that kind of thing, but it looked like when they came back from the Cup of Nations, and look, they both had their own different stories from that tournament and also the World Cup qualifiers, of course, where they met again, but they just seemed to maybe take a bit of time to get going after those tournaments, and just when Klopp needs them, as they're coming into the final stretch of the season, the two of them, bang, hitting form again.
Yeah, I suppose to start with Mane, I think the change of position from, I wasn't sure about that, in that number 9 role, he hasn't got the same feet in terms of link-up play as Bobby Firmino, but what he's improved so much of that, and he's really improved that part of his game. His running power is there for all to see. So Liverpool like the number 9 to drop into what they call that number 10 position and link the play. So he's really improved at that of late. But I think I always knew he was a good finisher. But his goal tonight, that's a real striker's finish. And I think he got goals the weekend as well. I think they've got a real goal scorer there now. And it's really exciting to see that, because they now would, if they're going to play Jota, they play him wide, probably in Jota's best position, because Mane's been so good through the middle, and Firmino missing isn't such a big deal anymore. But going on to Mo Salah, like, the difference there was the manager, there was calls for maybe to be rested, etc. The man management of Mo Salah. He was still playing well, he was still creating chances, he was occupying defenders, wasn't scoring the goals, wasn't grabbing the headlines, but at no stage did you think Klopp was going to take him off too early or leave him out of the team and rest him. He just managed him. He knew what Mo Salah wants. By all accounts, he's the first person, the two of them are the first people into the training ground every single day, and probably last to leave. And the performance of Mo Salah is one of them where you can tell that's just brilliant man management from Jurgen Klopp. And his form, Mo Salah is one of them people who goes on a streak of goals, and it'd be a worry for City seeing him playing really well today. So brilliant performance for Liverpool, brilliant management, and they're in really good form. And it was a quiet night for someone like Trent Alexander. Just done okay. He was only a 9.5 out of 10.
Well, just to finish, of course, Liverpool now on top of the table by 2 points, and City don't exactly have an easy game next against Brighton, a team that have really shown against the bigger sides this season they can get results. City will be, I suppose, reeling after that defeat in the FA Cup on Saturday. It's not exactly a gimme for City.
No, it's not, and I think there'll be twists and turns in this. I can see a couple of draws coming for both Liverpool and Man City, so wouldn't be shocked if it was a draw in that Brighton game. Brighton done really well the other day. I thought that was one of their best performances in a while. They've played well without scoring goals, but there was more than that the other day. There was a bit of fight about them, a little bit of hunger. So that's an interesting game. I fancy City still to win it. I think they will win that one. But what an exciting title race. City are still one of the greatest teams ever to play Premiership football. It's just that this Liverpool team are, as I think Pep said, a pain in the ass. They just won't go away, and all you can do in a title race is just put the opposition under pressure. So if it's 0-0 after 60 minutes, City have a little bit of panic. Their own fans are panicking a little bit, and that's where you want to play on. And to be in the lead is the best thing, and Liverpool now 2 points clear, and to put the pressure back on to City.
Thanks, Vinny.
Cheers, thank you.